Adversity doesn't pause for love. Marriage doesn't escape the weight of life's biggest challenge, illness, trauma, change. Sometimes it magnifies them. When I stood at the altar, I thought love would be the shield that protected us from the world. I believed that once we said "I do," we would be safe. But here's the truth that no one tells you when you start a life with someone. Adversity doesn't wait for the honeymoon to be over. It doesn't knock politely. It crashes in, and it doesn't pause just because you're in love. Life will test your vows in ways you can't imagine. For me and my husband, that test came early. And it came hard. I had already survived losing both my legs. I had rebuilt my life once, but what I didn't expect was how that trauma would echo through our marriage years later. There were nights I would lie awake next to him and feel 1,000 miles apart. I wasn't angry, I wasn't bitter, I was confused. Why wasn't love enough? Why wasn't our bond saving us from drifting? It's because love doesn't erase pain. Love doesn't eliminate fear. Love does not undo trauma. I had to learn that just because I had healed physically didn't mean we had healed emotionally. And I remember one fight in particular. One of those fights where you don't raise your voice, but the silence is deafening. He turned to me and said, "You don't let me in anymore." And in that moment I broke, because he was right. I had built walls instead of bridges, not because I didn't love him, but because I was afraid he couldn't handle my darkness. I thought I was protecting him, but I was shutting him out. Adversity doesn't just test your strength. It tests your connection. It shines a light on every crack, every unspoken fear, every unresolved grief. It demands truth. It demands depth. And let me be real with you. You will want to run. You will want to escape into busyness, into distraction, into pretending. But you can't. You have to face the hard stuff together. You have to look your partner in the eyes and say, "This is where I hurt. This is where I'm scared. This is what I need." And not just once, over and over, because adversity doesn't just show up once. It revisits, it evolves, and so must your love. There were times I thought we wouldn't make it. There were times I wondered if we had outgrown each other, but the truth is, we had just outgrown who we used to be. And that's the work of marriage. It's not holding on to who you were. It's choosing to rediscover each other every time life knocks you down. You can't expect your relationship to remain untouched when your life is shaken. You can't expect to walk through fire and not come out changed. The question isn't, will adversity come? It's how will we face it together or alone? And you have to choose together, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Let me know if you want me to continue with the next key point F, or convert this into a video, style speech F. Communication must evolve with the journey. The person you married isn't the same person 5 years later. Neither are you. Growth requires renewed understanding. One of the biggest lessons I've learned, sometimes the hard way, is that the person you marry will not stay the same forever. Neither will you, and that's not a betrayal. That's not a flaw. That's life. That's growth. Yet so many of us get stuck holding on to the version of our partner we met on day one, expecting them to stay locked in that form like a photo on a wedding day. But people are not frozen moments. They are evolving stories, and if you don't keep reading the chapters, you'll wake up one day and feel like you're lying next to a stranger. There was a season in my marriage where I felt like we weren't even speaking the same language anymore. I was changing. New ambitions, new fears, new ways of seeing the world. And he was changing too. And instead of leaning in with curiosity, I pulled back with judgment. I expected him to understand me like he used to, even though I wasn't explaining myself. I expected connection without conversation, and it doesn't work like that. Communication in marriage isn't a one-time download, it's a daily update. You have to check in. You have to ask, who are you today? And what do you need from me now? I'll never forget the night we sat across from each other at the kitchen table, both of us exhausted, barely making eye contact, and I said, "I miss us." And he said, "I miss us too, but I don't know how to reach you anymore." That broke me. Because I realized I had built an idea in my head of who he was supposed to be instead of actually seeing who he was becoming. And I wanted to be seen too. Not the public version of me, the strong, motivational speaker version, but the tired, overwhelmed, messy version who just needed someone to say, "I still choose you, even in this." You have to evolve how you listen. You have to evolve how you support. What comforted your partner 3 years ago might not touch them now. What made them feel loved then might feel invisible now, and you can't take that personally. You have to get curious again. You have to ask better questions. You have to stop assuming you already know the answer, because knowing someone once doesn't mean you understand them now. And there is such beauty in getting to relearn the person you love, in falling in love with their growth, in being their safe place to land while the world keeps spinning. So don't let ego block empathy. Don't let old habits replace real presence. Don't get so caught up in your own internal noise that you forget to truly hear the person across from you. Marriage isn't just living under the same roof, it's choosing to truly see each other through every phase, every setback, every transformation. That's the sacred work. That's the beautiful, messy, ongoing dance. Let me know if you want me to expand the next key point F, or turn this into a dramatic stage reading F. Resentment comes from unspoken pain. When we don't talk about what we're holding inside, it builds into invisible walls. Vulnerability breaks them down. I want to tell you something that took me years to understand. Resentment is not born from hate, it is born from pain. It doesn't roar in like anger. It builds slowly, quietly, invisibly. It starts with a swallowed truth, a held back feeling. A moment you didn't speak your needs because you didn't want to cause a scene, and then another, and another, until one day you wake up and you don't even recognize the energy between you. The space feels colder, the words feel shorter, you're not fighting, but you're not connecting either. That's resentment, and let me be real with you. It will destroy a marriage faster than any loud argument. I used to pride myself on being strong, on handling things on my own, on pushing through even when I was hurting. I thought that's what love looked like. Don't complain, don't burden, just deal. But what I didn't realize was that I wasn't just avoiding conflict. I was avoiding vulnerability. I was holding in all the places I felt misunderstood, all the times I didn't feel seen, all the moments I needed support but didn't ask for it, and every time I said, "I'm fine." When I wasn't, I was putting another brick in a wall between us. That wall doesn't come crashing down in one dramatic moment. No, it gets built in silence. There was a moment, I remember it so vividly, when my husband did something small, like forgetting to ask about my day. And I snapped, not because of that one thing, but because I had been holding in 1,000 small hurts. That moment became the tipping point. I looked at him and I said, "Do you even see me anymore?" And the shock on his face said everything. He didn't know, he genuinely didn't know how much I had been carrying, because I never told him. I was punishing him for not reading a script I never gave him. That's what resentment does. It turns our unspoken pain into silent accusations. It creates distance where there should have been dialogue. If this is you, if you're sitting on unspoken needs, if you've been collecting quiet disappointments like stones in your pocket, I want you to hear me now. Your pain deserves a voice. Not in anger, not in blame, but in honesty. Sit down with your partner and say, "This is where I'm struggling. This is where I've felt alone. This is what I need, and I haven't known how to ask." Speak the words. Even if your voice shakes, especially if it shakes, that's how walls come down. Not with yelling, but with truth. Not with winning, but with understanding. And listen, this isn't about perfection. You will both make mistakes. You will both forget to show up sometimes. But if you keep choosing honesty, if you keep choosing vulnerability over silence, then resentment doesn't stand a chance. Because when you speak your pain, you invite healing. When you express your needs, you give your partner the chance to actually meet them. Let me know if you'd like me to continue with Key Point 4F or create a condensed quote version F for social media. Independence within togetherness is vital. Losing yourself to keep a relationship going will only cause both people to drown. You can't pour from an empty cup. There was a point in my marriage when I looked in the mirror and realized I didn't recognize myself, not because I had physically changed, but because I had emotionally disappeared. I had become so focused on keeping things together, so determined to be the strong partner, the understanding one, the peacemaker, that I had stopped asking what I needed. And slowly, without even realizing it, I had started shrinking. My voice got quieter, my dreams got smaller, my energy became about survival, not joy, and here's what I learned the hard way. You cannot lose yourself just to keep something else alive. You cannot pour endlessly from a cup that's bone dry. That's not love, that's self-abandonment. Marriage is a beautiful union, but it is not a surrendering of self. It's not a contract that says, you first, always, and me only if there's anything left. That model will leave you bitter. It will leave you empty, and it will convince you that your burnout is proof of your love. But real love doesn't ask you to dim to make someone else shine. Real love says, I want all of you present. Your voice, your truth, your fire, your boundaries, your passions. And if it doesn't, then what you have is not partnership. It's performance, and that will crush your spirit. I remember one day I snapped at my husband over something so small, so trivial, and the moment it came out of my mouth, I stopped and said out loud, that wasn't about you. Because it wasn't. It was about me running on empty. It was about me not carving out space to check in with myself. I had stopped asking what lights me up. I had stopped pursuing the things that made me feel alive outside of us. And listen, this is where it gets real. You do not need permission to take care of yourself. You do not need a crisis to justify self-reflection. You have a right to your own time, your own joy, your own passions. And when you reconnect with that inner light, you actually become a better partner, a fuller, richer, more grounded version of yourself. That's who you bring into the relationship. So ask yourself, when was the last time you did something just for you asterisk? When was the last time you said, I matter too? Because if your marriage only thrives when you are disappearing, that's not a sustainable bond. That's a silent struggle. You need space to grow. You need space to breathe. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for the relationship is to reclaim your independence within it, to say, I love us, but I also love me, and I won't sacrifice my wholeness for the illusion of harmony. You weren't put on this earth to be half of something. You were born whole, and yes, marriage is about compromise, but it's not about erasure. Your light matters, your voice matters, your identity matters. The healthiest relationships are not the ones where one person fades and the other flourishes. They're the ones where both people rise. Let me know if you'd like to move on to Key Point 5F or adapt this into a podcast intro F. Hard conversations are healing conversations. Avoiding the tough talks doesn't preserve peace, it delays healing. Lean into the discomfort to grow stronger. There is no such thing as a strong marriage without hard conversations, period. I don't care how in love you are, how aligned your values seem on paper, or how well you get along when everything's easy. If you avoid the uncomfortable truths, if you walk on eggshells instead of stepping into honesty, you are not building connection, you're building quiet resentment. And I've lived that. I've sat across from the person I love most and swallowed what I really wanted to say because I didn't want to stir the pot. I didn't want to ruin the mood. I didn't want to feel like the dramatic one. So I buried it again and again and again until I exploded over something small, like a text that went unanswered or the way he folded the towels. But let me be clear, it was asterisk, never asterisk about the towels. It was everything I didn't say. There was a moment, I'll never forget it. We were in the car, dead silent, tension so thick I could barely breathe, and I just blurted out, "Do you even care anymore?" And it stunned him. Not because it was true, but because I had never said out loud how far away I felt. I was expecting him to know, to read my mind, to just get it. But that's not how love works. Love isn't telepathy, it's communication. You cannot expect someone to meet a need you've never expressed. You cannot demand closeness while withholding the very truths that would bring you back together. Hard conversations are not threats, they are bridges. Yes, they can be messy. Yes, your voice might shake. Yes, it might get uncomfortable, but do you know what's worse? The slow, quiet drift that happens when you keep the peace at the cost of your truth. That peace is fake. It's fragile, and one day it cracks. One day, the silence you thought was safety becomes suffocating. And when that happens, you either break open or you break apart. And I know what you might be thinking, but what if I say the hard thing and it pushes them away? Let me say this with every ounce of conviction I have. If your relationship can't hold the weight of your truth, it was never built on real connection to begin with. The goal of a healthy relationship isn't to avoid conflict, it's to navigate it with grace. It's to say, I'm not trying to hurt you, I'm trying to heal this. It's to lean in, not pull back, because the couples who last, the ones who grow, are the ones who say the hard things, feel the discomfort, and stay at the table anyway. You deserve to be heard, not just when it's easy, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's vulnerable, and your partner deserves the same. Speak up, say the thing, ask the questions, share the fear. Because silence is not safety, it's distance, and love cannot survive in distance. It breathes in honesty, it grows in understanding, and it heals in truth. Let me know if you're ready for me to expand key point 6 next F, or want this part turned into a real script for Instagram F. Love is a daily, intentional choice. Real love isn't just passion. It's showing up when it's hard, learning again and again how to meet each other's needs. Love is not a feeling that just floats in the air waiting to land on you every morning like a perfect breeze. Love is a choice. A bold, messy, sometimes exhausting choice. And you don't just make it once. You make it every single day, especially on the days when it's the hardest. When the butterflies are gone, when the schedules are overwhelming, when the stress is heavy, when you're not even sure if you're speaking the same language anymore. That asterisk is when love has to become a decision, not just an emotion. I remember a night, long after the wedding, long after the hospital visits, long after the public inspiration and the social media smiles, where I just sat on the floor, staring at the wall, completely numb. We had just had one of those fights where everything gets said except what you actually mean. And I thought to myself, how did we get here? How did two people who love each other this much end up feeling this far apart? And in that moment, I didn't feel in love. I felt tired, I felt confused, but somewhere deep in me I also felt this. Choose him anyway. Not because I felt like it, but because I had made a promise, not just to him, but to myself, that I wouldn't only show up when it was easy, that I wouldn't give up just because we were lost, that I would fight for us the way we had fought for everything else in life, because that's what love really is. It's choosing each other when it's inconvenient. It's showing up with empathy when you're tired. It's staying curious about their heart even when it's closed. It's choosing to repair even when retreating feels easier. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying stay in something that's toxic or one-sided. I'm saying that even in the healthiest relationships, there will be seasons that test your ability to love actively, not passively. There will be days you have to look at your partner and say, today, I don't feel that magic. But I'm still here. I still choose us. And let me be clear, this doesn't mean you tolerate neglect or ignore your needs. It means you engage. It means you keep leaning in. It means you look for the spark instead of just mourning that it's missing. It means you invest. You water the roots. You don't just stare at a wilting plant and complain. You go get the sunlight, you pour the water, you learn what it needs now, because love changes, people change. And that's not failure, that's reality. So if you're in a place where you're doubting your connection, where the rhythm feels off, where the energy is tense, pause and ask yourself, am I choosing love today? Not the fantasy, not the comfort, but the real work of love. And am I allowing myself to be chosen in return? Because when two people wake up every day and say, even in the chaos, I still choose you, that's not weakness. That's the most radical, powerful kind of love there is. Let me know if you'd like to turn this full series into a podcast, Script F, or want all 6 points in a summary PDF F.